most people around this area, in the area that I live, where there's a massive strip called Bergen Line Avenue that has tons and tons of small businesses. And that's a huge part of my life because my father is a small business owner as a mechanic shop that he owns and that I was able to work with and that all my brothers had to go work in. And I love that aspect. My dad forced me to go work, but I love being able to work there. I'm so grateful for that because it taught me so much. But most businesses and small businesses are bleeding so much cash and they don't even know it. Today, we're looking at mechanic shops specifically. That is where my heart is. Obviously, with my father being a mechanic shop owner, and I see so much hard work that they put into it. I see so much incredible skills that some of these mechanics have and the things that they're able to do so fast because there's mechanics that are extremely fast, there's mechanics that are extremely slow, there's mechanics that make no mistakes, there's mechanics that can break down an engine and put it back together all in one day. And again, I'm going to be focusing on mechanics a little bit more as a small business that I'm analyzing today because of the fact that mechanic shops is a big part of my personal heart. So, the reality is that although there are skills, although there's hard work, especially I can speak for myself as Hispanics, we're willing to work, willing to put in the work and be there. So one of the things I began to realize though with my own father is that these business owners have the rough skills of being hard workers, of putting in the work, of having incredible mechanic skills, but they have a struggle. They don't know how to manage a modern business properly. And the reality is that it's a struggle that they, never had someone to teach them, and then a mentor or took a class for someone to teach them how to do these things. And I don't blame them. I don't blame my father for not knowing specifically how it is to improve their business. Why? Because they were never taught it. And maybe some of you that are hearing me are business owners yourselves. And you're kind of struggling with what do I do to take my business to the next level? And that's kind of what I want to talk about. Specifically in this case, obviously about mechanic shops. But I was able to realize a lot of things about small businesses, probably most businesses that are struggling with this, specifically with mechanic shops, and maybe more of those blue collar lines of work. They struggle with answering phones. They struggle with being able to give proper customer service. They struggle with being able to manage the amount of workflow they have because they don't have a proper system in place, because maybe their hands are dirty and they can't deal with the client right then and there or answer the phone. I remember that being a constant struggle for my dad, his hands being full of chemicals, maybe with his gloves, and going and having to answer a phone with all of that, take out the gloves or maybe wash your hands and then have to do that. It's a very difficult situation to be in. So the reality of what I'm going to call the old way or the old mentality of doing things is a very hard situation. The reality is that there's a ton of things, all the way from not having a schedule, right? If you go to a modern dealership, they're successful. One of the reasons why is because they have a schedule. They know who's coming in. They know how much jobs they have that day, and that allows you to have more control over how much money is coming in, right? And there's a lack. It allows you to even have more better customer service. Having to be so busy and not have a schedule also is what ends up in you missing phone calls. Missing phone calls is what a business owner would call a worst nightmare, right? That is their worst nightmare. Why? Although they may not realize it, a missed call is them giving that potential client to the next shop next door, a few blocks away, right? Because if that other shop answers the call, that client is very likely to be theirs. So again, the old way of doing things, although they have never been taught it, at the end of the day, they're leaking money because of the fact that they don't have a proper system in place. The reality is that when you don't answer the phone, again, you're losing money, but you're also losing follow-ups. People that are maybe coming back, clients that have been recurring, and maybe you missed a few calls and some calls fell through the gap, and those calls was that client that was coming back to you because they like how you did things, and you're losing them now. So all the hard work that these mechanics, these business owners have put into developing a client, they lose it just like that because they don't have a proper system in place. The reality is that, like I said before, a missed call could be very, very damaging. Something as simple as that. a missed call could lead to thousands and thousands of dollars being lost. If we scroll back and we think about a mechanic shop, if they miss one call and that one call was, I don't know, replacement of an engine or a transmission job, it could literally be $2,000-3,000 of work that they are losing because of the fact that they didn't answer the phone. That's something insane to think about. How one call could lead to so much lost money. The reality is that mechanics, business owner, blue collar workers, you need to be on the phone. You need to be answering. This is your sales, right? In any business, the communication line of a phone is your sales, especially if that's the only form of communication that you have and you're not texting or anything like that or emailing. If the only way for people to get in contact with you is walking into your shop or calling you, you can lose thousands of dollars in one call. We're not talking about in a week. We're not talking about in a month. Think about in a month, the thousands and thousands of dollars that business owners are losing by just missing one call. And the whole reason of why I'm talking about this is because of the fact that one of the things I'm working with is mechanic shops, and I'm working hand in hand with improving their system. So one of the things I've been working on, for example, with my own father's shop, is I'm helping him being able to set up a system where any missed call that they have, the client's automatically receiving a text, hey, we're under a call right now and we're going to help you soon and we're going to get back to you. However, send us a text or shoot us here, respond to us here in this text and let us know what it is you need and we'll be able to call you in the next few minutes once we're out of having our hands full of oil, right? Obviously we're not saying all those long sentence of things in the text, but you get the point of it. The gist of it is that we are responding to these people automatically. So that's kind of part of the systems that I'm beginning to set up, what I would call the new way of doing things, what businesses that are more modern do, what dealerships do. The other thing that they're doing is that they're setting up schedules, right? They have a calendar for their business, and I want to go deep into that aspect of things. But the fact of the matter is that this new way of doing things, although it is different, although it is something that ultimately is not something that a old way type of business is used to, they have to be open to changing. That's what we have to do in entrepreneurship. We have to be willing to change, to pivot, to be able to do what we need to do to improve ourselves, to improve our business. And why is it that it's such a hard thing for these businesses to do? Why? Because many times they are resistant to change, right? They say the phrase, oh, you don't teach an old dog new tricks, right? And I don't necessarily think that's always the case, but I do see what they mean by that. It's hard to teach a business that's been doing things successfully for 30 years, but they've hit a ceiling and they haven't been able to get past that ceiling. Why? Because they're resistant to change. Because they may be not willing, or they may not only not be willing, but they may not have the proper skills, the technological skills to be able to sit down and get on a calendar system, be able to sit down and get into a tech system where they are consistent. So there's a lot of aspects of limitation that these business owners might have. And many times, especially in my community, the Hispanic community, it's a fear of technology. And again, many times the mentality is, why am I going to change things if I've been successful? If it ain't broke, then don't fix it, right? That's what a lot of people say, but that isn't always the case. Many times it may be the case. If it isn't broke, just leave it alone. But in this case, when it comes to entrepreneurship, you have to be willing to constantly shift. You have to be willing to constantly grow. You have to be consistently learning more and more and more. So again, if we look at a shop, maybe like my dad's, that's just doing a call system and no text system, and they miss a call, but the shop next door misses the call, but they send the text, and they have a system that sends the text automatically, what happens? The shop next door still talked to that client, still reached out to the client. Although they didn't answer the call, the client's going to receive that text and want to respond back. Again, that shop is more likely to close that client than the shop that didn't answer the call, that didn't send a text. So the old way of doing things, the mentality of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, just resisting to change is not always beneficial for entrepreneurs. It's not always beneficial to business owners. You have to be willing to grow and change your business and pivot your mentality. That's the challenging part of entrepreneurship, that it challenges you personally, right? Because you as a business owner, you as an entrepreneur that's trying to pull this thing ahead, has to be willing to mold and be changed and be molded. Why? Because if you are not molded, if you do not change in your mentality, your business is going to stay the same forever. It's only going to grow as much as you grow. That's the reality of it. Now, if I look at obviously my family and my own father and these type of cultures and my personal culture and the Hispanic culture, maybe not only the Hispanic culture but also in different culture, the mentality might be that in that old way type of mentality, you might say to yourself, maybe I just need to put more work in. I just have to put more hours in. I just have to improve this. But the reality is that you can't outwork a broken system. The fact of the matter is that as much as you want to try to put in more work, that is not the solution you need. You need to change the way you're doing things. You need to be willing to change and pivot to what is needed. If your system is broken, then what is needed is a system that is fixed. What you need is for your system to be repaired. You need to begin to do automations. You need to begin to do things because there's only so far that you can go. With technology now, there's so many things that you're missing out on because you have a mentality of the old way of doing things. And maybe this isn't just applicable for business owners, this is applicable in your own personal life. Maybe in your own personal life, you have a struggle with scheduling, right? Businesses have the same struggle. If you have a problem with scheduling because you have not set up a proper system, then maybe you have to repair the system that you've been doing, and you have to fold, you have to change, you have to be able to be willing to change and repair the issue that is currently broken. In my personal life, one of the things that I personally did was, for example, a Kanban board. I talk to this to any friend that knows me, or that knows how I do things, especially at work. I 100% operate with Kanban boards, with a board where I'm able to put this thing and able to this task, and then I'm working on it and I'm assigned it. I assign it to myself. I'm working on it, and then I'm going all the way to done and finished, completed. Right? I get the satisfaction of being able to move them every step of the way, but I also get the satisfaction of every single small thing that I have to do. I just put it there, and I remember that I have to do it and I have to get back to it, and it reminds me of that, right? Because I'm every day going back to it. Whatever is the system that you need to put into place, you need to remember that if you don't have a proper system in your business, in your personal life, you need to set up a system that could work for you and not against you. You cannot outwork a broken system. I found the exact system that fixes this, and I built a whole entire new business model around it. In part 3 of this video, I'll show you the software that I'm currently using, that I'm beginning to work with, that I'm very much familiar with, that maybe some of you may be familiar with, or maybe not. But this is a software that helps me be able to impact shops in such a big way in the future, and being able to impact my community in such a large way. Why? Because if the businesses around me are growing, then what happens? The community grows as well. And that's all I desire. I desire to impact my community. I desire to help these business owners that are stressed, these people that are just like my father, that are tired of having a broken system and having to work hard. Why? Because they're working super hard. And I'm not saying that you're not going to work hard as a business owner. You always are. But they're working like quadruple times harder because they're trying to catch up to a system that is just bringing them down, right? It's like trying to run with 50-pound weights tied to you. You're not going to run as fast. As much as you try to gain more muscle, if the moment you take away those weights, you're going to run way faster, right? So don't try to outwork a broken system. I'm going to begin to show you what system I'm working with, and that I'm going to be helping business mechanic shops work with, so that they can improve their current system that may be broken. And maybe they have a system that's already working. But my whole point in all of this is that those shops that have a system, those businesses that have a system that is broken, stay tuned so that we can help you be able to improve the system you have in place. And in your own personal life, it's applicable as well. Maybe not the system that I'm going to show you, but in your own personal life. If there's something that you've been wanting to do and that you haven't done, sit back, look at how much it's impacting your life, and react. and begin to change the things that are already broken. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a comment, and subscribe to Santos Financial. All right, this is your path to freedom. Stay tuned.